Hello, good morning, and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. We have two American bourbons. Well, that's the only place bourbon is legally allowed to be made in the United States of America. We have, I'm doing it chronologically. I want to do it chronologically. Kings County Distillery, Peated Bourbon, 90 proof, introduced in 2010. Well, the company was founded in 2010. I couldn't find out exactly when the peated was introduced. Age, 2 years, produced in Brooklyn, New York City, New York. The competitor, Cooper's Craft, Our Bourbon, Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey from the B.F. Cooper, Louisville Cooperage, established 1945. But actually, this is 82.2 proof. Cooper's Craft Bourbon was introduced in 2016, and it is produced by Brown-Forman. Brown-Forman, the owners of Old Forester Bourbon, and they bought out Jack Daniels in 1956. They own Jack Daniels now for the last 66 years. Now, come here. Come here. We have a guest star. Might hear that purring. Go on and get down. All right. Anyway, daylight is arriving, but not quite. I see an airplane flying. Yes. Flying northwest, heading in a northwest direction. And I see a 400-foot G5 tower. 5G tower. All right. I wanted to start at the bottom of the hour directly, but I got held up with something in Rock and Roll Club. Facebook wasn't working right. The cork is too tight. I mean, I knew you want it tight, but this thing is just outrageously tight. I forgot to do this challenge. Remember, I was doing bourbon a few weeks ago with the Kings County, and I forgot to do it versus, I realized last night, I said, oh, I forgot to do Cooper's Craft. So Canadian whiskey is going to have to take a back seat for a little while. We'll be back to Canadian whiskey for Friday, but I like to cover all the brands. Cooper's Craft, it's good, but I would say good, like a B, 83 out of 100. But it's definitely not great. Panthers rule says you. Isn't that what Burley Sullivan says? Okay. Metal cap. I remember in 2017, 2016, when they first came out with Cooper's Craft, they had big billboards. A big billboard on in New Orleans on Interstate 10, right by the Superdome. And I said, what in the world is Cooper's Craft? Okay, this one is copper, and this one is amber. And I said to myself, well, they're trying to make it look like an independent brand. But I said when I was on the highway, I said, watch if it's not owned by somebody. And of course it was and is. But they don't try to hide it. They put Brown-Forman on the back of the label. You know, they're not like some of the companies that'll say like Kentucky Quality Distillers Corporation. Then you find out it's an alias name registered with the U.S. government by Brown-Forman or Sazerac or something. These companies are allowed to use alias names. They call it an assumed name. Like the Steel Brewing Company that makes Steel Reserve. Yeah, well, That's Molson Coors. And a lot of people will say, man, I wonder if the Plank Road Brewery went down after they got bought out by Miller because they started Red Dog and Ice House. No, Plank Road Brewery was never a company. It was just an alias name set up by Miller Brewing Company in 1993 to make it look like it was a little independent company. Okay, Plank Road Brewery. Panthers rules. Speaking of Superdome, how do I feel about Dennis Allen getting promoted? Well, I think everybody wanted him to get the job, and including myself. So he's probably the best choice. But time will tell, right? I mean, I know you got fired from the Raiders, but everybody gets fired from the Raiders because they like the worst organization in football. So, I mean, if you get hired by them, you know, in a few years you're going to get fired. Either because the team is terrible and the ownership fights against you, or because they dredge up some, you know, ridiculous emails from 11 years ago, somebody that had some axe to grind against you and make it look like you're some ogre, terrible person, you know, whatever, terrible organization. All right. Not to say that people should send out ugly emails. People shouldn't say ugly things. Have I said things that I shouldn't have said in the past? Of course. You have too. I'm not saying it's right. But you know, the National Socialist Football Cartel, they like to portray themselves like they're above reproach. They have no sin. They're perfect. We're perfect. And Roger is going to say, we're going to do so much better with our hiring because they just make you want to puke, you know. So it's a bad outfit. Like a lot of these big companies, they're just bad. They bad. Everything about them is bad. David Cassidy had the workhorse Prussian Imperial a few days ago. I was not impressed at all. Yeah. Sometimes those things don't turn out to be so good, and that one wasn't too thrilling. Both of these smell like wood, okay? Whiskey soaked wood, oak wood. 82.2 proof, which is 41.1% alcohol. Strange number for the bourbon, versus 90 proof, which is a normal bourbon number. Usually more like 80, but 90 is a normal number. Guys, eyes are normal. All right. But this one smells woodier. And Cooper's Craft, Coopers make barrels. The whole focus is wood, beech, and birch. Wood, beech, and birch instead of oak. So they're spinning it a little differently to differentiate themselves. Has Cooper's Craft caught on? Is it popular? Doesn't seem to be. Sometimes Walmart has it for like $24. Total Wine and More has it for $24, but I got it at Matherns for $9. I didn't know. I said $9. It seems low, and then I went research and I said, whoop, better get back and get. So I went back over there and I got it because it was only like 5 bottles or maybe 6. Probably was a case, and that was a great deal. So I think this is the Cooper's Craft. Let's go with the taste. Cheers. Sorry, I took too big of a gulp. Supposed to be a sip, fella. Ooh, 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 ooh. Spicy wood. That is some spicy stuff. I think sediment gets at the bottom of these, and as you get lower, well, I know it does. If you get lower and lower and lower in the bourbon bottle, when you get to the bottom, it tastes like all kind of sediment, like tea leaves. It tastes like tannins because you know it's old wood chips and stuff and leaves. You know what I'm saying? Not leaves, but it's like the bottom of the teacup with all the dregs. When I got to the bottom of that Blanton's, It was like gruel. It was like coagulated breakfast cereal milk left over, but of course it was whiskey. Tastes like 90 proof because it's strong, Now, the problem with the doggone peated bourbon is that it doesn't taste very peaty. I mean, if they're touting it, peat, peat, peat. We use peated malt from Scotland. Oh, well, you're touting it. I'm thinking, oh man, it's going to be so peaty. Then you taste it, and it's so just regular bourbony. And then if you taste it 10 times, once out of every 10 times, you'll pick up a little peat smoke. You say, oh, there it is. There it goes. It's like trying to get a glimpse of the winged monkey's silver cap with the jeweled cap in the movie The Wizard of Oz. If you blink, you miss it. And I've had people say, I never heard of that. I say, well, let me tell you. It's in the movie. In fact, the witch got so aggravated, if you watch the movie, she takes the cap and slings it across the room. That's the only way she could control the monkeys, the winged monkeys, or as people call them, flying monkeys, but they're called winged monkeys, the winged monkeys in the book, and they never call them flying monkeys in the movie. They do fly, but they're called winged monkeys. And but they were not necessarily working for the witch, but there was this jeweled silver cap with the side hang. It looked like a early pilot's cap. But if you had possession of it and you followed this spell or ritual or whatever they call that, incantation, and the book talked about it, then you could control them. Anybody could. And so that's why in the movie, the monkey clapped when he realized the witch was dead, because then if she was dead, then the spell, she can't control him because she's dead. So that was the winged monkeys. But if you look at the movie carefully, you'll see the jeweled silver cap. And that's, you say, but it's hard to see that. It's in there. And that's like the peat smoke here. It's there, but it's so difficult to find, to place, to detect, to pick up. Now, I got this as a gift. I did not buy it, but it's about $65. The Kings County. I went to Kings County. Why? Just in July of last year. Didn't stay long. The trip kind of got botched by a tropical storm hitting and traffic and everything. It was a real irritation. But anyway, that's another story. The Cooper's Craft run you $24. I got it for $9, but that was an amazing deal. So 24 and 65. That's $41. Is the Kings County Peated Bourbon $41 better? Ha 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 ha! That's a joke. The Cooper's Craft has no age statement, which means it's aged at least 4 years. Okay. The Kings County is aged 2 years. That is a minimal aging. It's not the minimal. There is no minimum requirement for bourbon. They got a bourbon at Walmart right now, aged at least 6 months. That's why it's so pale. I said, look like grain spirits. Aged 6 months. I said, no, I don't think I'll buy it. The only requirement for bourbon is that it's aged in new charred oak barrels. Doesn't say how long. So 6 months. You say, oh, come on. They probably just took raw grain spirits, grain neutral spirits, put them in new charred oak barrels for 6 months and called it bourbon. But that's exactly what they did. Legally, it's bourbon. If you want to get even more technical and legalistic, you could take grain neutral spirits, dump them in newly charred oak barrels, age them overnight, and the next day sell it. It would have some color because it would suck up that the charcoal. You say, but that would be like terrible. Yeah, it would be like terrible. It would be terrible. Okay. But you could do it legally and you call it bourbon. Couldn't call it straight bourbon, but you call it bourbon. Somebody would probably buy it. You could call it like super fresh. Super fresh bourbon. Our bourbon is the freshest bourbon on the market. Yeah, it's fresh. All right. You are not my where do I go? Who do I turn to? Oh, I thought that was Cooper's Craft, but you know what? You know what? I'm picking up a little Pete. Little, meaning not much. Would I pay $65 for this? I don't think so. Would I pay $55 for this? No. $45. $35. Maybe. $25. Yeah, I paid $25 for it. Is it a good product? Sure is. It's just about $40 overpriced. Ha ha, ha ha, ha ha, ha ha. I actually scooped out a teaspoon of vanilla ice cream and some Crown Black. Unbelievable wood notes that I got from it. Wow. Cheers, says Panthers Rule. David Cassie, the Pete. I actually find The Wizard of Oz entertaining. You know, you're talking about the 1939 movie. It's a lot different than the novel, but I mean, of course, the novel from the 1900. But what were they going to do? Do the whole novel verbatim, basically, and the movie would have been like 4 hours long. I mean, the novel wasn't a musical. They made it into a musical. It was a musical adaptation from the novel. I mean, the movie did not have the Kaleidahs. It didn't have the Land of the China People. It didn't have the Good Witch of the South. See, because they had cardinal directions in the novel, north and south were the good witches, east and west, the evil witch. They didn't have the mice, the field mice that rescued the lion and the Dorothy and Toto from the poppy field. Yeah, it was field mice. They built this big wagon and they pulled them out. Thousands of field mice. But I mean, they didn't have time to put all that in the movie. Yeah, they never write the movie script as it would be in a book. Right, right. And in the movie, they made it like it was a dream because she got hit in the head with the screen door. Don't you believe me? Sure, we believe you, Dorothy. And they're looking at each other like, ooh. But in the book, it was no dream. This is no dream. This is really happening. And then there was this long story about how the wizard got there. And I mean, you know, it was real complicated. But, you know, like I said, the movie would have dragged on forever and everybody would have got bored and walked out. Cooper's Craft, yeah, it's worth $24. I mean, it's worth the price. I wouldn't make a big effort to go get it, but I mean, I would buy it. I would get it. And there was a queen of the China people. What was her name? There was a queen, and oh man, it was so complicated. The book had so much. It was just so much more. Okay. And they took, and when the witch captured them, she captured them all. Actually, she made a beehive out of the Tin Man. Can't remember what she did with the scarecrow. Did some kind of stuffing or whatever. The lion she had chained up and made him turn this wheel like to crush corn or some kind of grain. Yeah, I mean, and it wasn't like they chased him through the castle and she grabbed a bucket of water and threw it on the witch to put out a fire on the Scarecrow's arm, like in the movie. It was nothing like that. In the book, the witch made a slave out of Dorothy, and she had to clean the whole house and cook all the food. And but Dorothy noticed something strange, that whenever she would take a bath, the witch would be outside the bathroom talking to her through the door. And she thought that's strange, like she was scared of water. Dorothy started thinking she must be scared of water, like, but why? She was like, and she never bathed or anything. So Dorothy started getting smart in the book, and she said, I'm gonna get her. It wasn't an accident in the book. She said, I'm gonna fix her up. So the witch was yelling at her and saying, clean that floor, mop that floor, the kitchen floor, which was a frame house, like an old wooden frame house. It wasn't a castle. She didn't live in no castle. She lived in an old frame house off the ground. You could even see through the floorboards to the ground below. You could see little bits of light coming through it. So Dorothy said, oh, let me mop the floor in the kitchen. So the witch said, okay, mop that floor, you slave, or whatever. So Dorothy, I can't remember, she baited her some kind of way to come kind of close to her. And she picked up that bucket of water and hit her with it. Splashed her. And then, of course, she made that speech like in the movie, my wickedness, what a world, what a world. And then she melted. And then in the book, she went through the floorboards. So, it was like even a different character, because in the movie, she was like, oh, I can't believe it. I didn't mean to kill her. She was like all, like nervous and like so deferring to everybody. So such a sweet teenager. Who's like 17 years old. But in the book, she was like 8 years old or 10 years old. And she was more crafty. She wasn't like in the movie, like, I'm so sorry. No, in the book, she was like, oh, well, you tried to capture me, so you did. You're dead. And in the book, and she was much more assertive. You know what I'm saying? In the book. All right. Might have to try and find that book. It's called The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. You don't really get the quote unquote, you mean quote unquote fantasy vibes from the movie, like you said. Right. Yeah, it's Hollywood production and all. But anyway, that being said, oh yeah, and in the book they had these people with these spring action heads. They were like squat bodies, and their heads came on a spring, and then they would go back, retract back into their body, and they would hit people with them. Can't remember the name of those people. Or like all kind of crazy stuff that you just didn't see in the movie. They probably would have had no special effect ability to make that. Of course, today they would do a CGI and it would be like a cartoon. All those CGI movies look like a crummy cartoon to me. Cartoons are better, actually. Okay. I'm going to say this is the Kings County. It is. Honestly, it was kind of a tough taste challenge, but that little scintilla of Pete that showed up in the middle of my diatribe, my monologue about the Wizard of Oz, it's good that I got caught up on that because it gave me time to think about the, and to not rush through it. If you're in a rush, these taste challenges are definitely not for you because they're not in a rush. They're not rushed because you have to think. Like I say, you got to think on it while you drink on it. So a lot of people have nervous energy. They're in a big rush. And so a video that goes over 10 minutes, they can't take it. They got no attention span. So these are not for you. But all you got to do is not watch it. Well, I'm glad I helped. Haha, you did help. It's funny how some people subscribe to a channel and then they act like they're under compulsion to watch every video. I'm subscribed to so many channels. Do I watch every video? No. like they'll say mystery beer, but then they won't say what the beer is. Well, I don't watch it. It should be a mystery to them, not me. I want to see what I'm watching. I'm gonna click on it and then go through it, and then finally they reveal it. And I'm like, I never heard of hyperbole pale ale from 10 Misfit Brewing. I was like, well, why did I waste time? It's supposed to be a mystery for the person doing the challenge, not the mystery for the viewer. So I don't watch it. Anyway, and I don't get on there and complain to the person, hey, you should change the title. I just don't watch it. They should know better than to you should have some kind of understanding that people want to know what they're watching. I really try to watch all your videos. I respect your profile of beers and spirits. Oh, thank you. Well, that's it. We're going to close out now. I'm going for a walk in this cold weather. Ooh. What are you scratching on? Come here. Come here. We're going to go out. We're going to go out. I want that stopped. You stop that. You can't scratch people like that. What's wrong with you? You want to go in the video one more time? No. She wanted me to rub her stomach. Come here. Well, lay down then. Very obstinate. All right. Kitty. Yeah, laughing. Yo. So you probably heard her go, and you probably heard her at the beginning of the video, you probably heard that purring. Hi, says BC's Beer. BC's Beer Reviews. OBC's Beer Reviews. Tell y'all one thing, whether it's a bottle or a can, he's going to review a beer today or when he gets to it. Come on, you want to go in the video? I see you laying on your side. You better stop it. She don't want me to pick her up because she's laying down. I don't want to get scratched because that cat is a feral cat. Grew up in the wild, and they won't hesitate to bite or scratch. But she usually doesn't do that anymore. But better safe than sorry, right? All right. Anyway, thanks for watching this video production.